Estamos en Nueva York para contarles una historia única en el rock. La de una banda que en vida buscó el éxito comercial, pero 3 de sus 4 integrantes murieron antes de conocerlo. La de un grupo que nunca tuvo una canción en los rankings y sin embargo influenció a los más grandes, desde U2 hasta los Red Hot Chili Peppers. Un grupo que aquí en su país tocaba para menos de 1000 personas y que sin embargo en la Argentina se despidieron hace 20 años tocando para 65.000 en la cancha de River. La historia de los Ramones, que tienen el ADN neoyorquino, pero el corazón argentino.
The Ramones are kind of like that. When they first started playing, they go to small towns and they play, and these kids would say, hey, if they can do that, I can do that.
You miss them sometimes?
Oh, I think I get constant reminders every day of them. If I put on a song or I hear it on the radio, you know, they were my friends and bandmates.
Estamos a 40 minutos de Manhattan. En este edificio de Forest Hill, en Queens, vivió Jeffrey, un joven con trastornos obsesivos compulsivos. Se pasaba todo el día tocando la batería y coleccionando discos. Aquí fue donde conoció a John y a Douglas. Los 3 tenían severos problemas con las drogas y de conducta. Tiempo después de conocerse se dieron cuenta que tenían un mismo gusto musical y cambiaron sus nombres. Jeffrey fue Joey, Douglas fue Didi y John fue Johnny. Aquí comenzó a gestarse un mito del rock mundial.
Joey is very creative, great singer, very creative. He was like the McCartney and Lennon McCartney. He wrote the softer songs. Now Didi was the punk. He wrote the harder songs. So put them together, you had the Ramones, you know what I mean? Like the Beatles, Lennon McCartney, hard, soft. But you put them together, you get the Beatles. That's the same thing.
Half and half.
Yeah, Johnny was the commander, you know?
The leader.
The general.
And how was his life here?
Well, you could see that, you know, it's a neighborhood with everything kind of tight and close by, you know, where his mom, you know, the art gallery was just a few blocks up the street was the high school we went to. So they all kind of grew up in this neighborhood right here.
And Johnny and Didi also lived around the neighborhood.
Yeah, they all lived in Forest Hills, but in different pockets of the neighborhood, sure. As Didi said, you know, back in the early 1970s, it wasn't cool to be from Queens. You know, you always had to say you were from Manhattan. You know, so they lied about like having an apartment, a pad in Manhattan, because it wasn't cool to be from this neighborhood here.
There's a yard between the buildings. Something happened there, no?
Yeah, I wanted to show it to you. It's a kind of like a little playground with like a swimming pool or whatever. But it was interesting, you know, the neighborhood, while it was middle class, there were some families that had some money. And, you know, a lot of the moms that were taking care of their kids really didn't pay attention to them being like, you know, radical. And they were kind of snooty and brats. And as Joey and Didi were sitting there one day, they're watching these kids just run all over the place and the mom isn't paying attention to them. And that's where they came up with the idea of beat on the brat with a baseball bat, right? Got it from like parents not minding their children.
Beats on the brat, beats on the brat, beats on the brat with a baseball bat. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh oh. Beats on the brat, beats on the brat. On the brattle with a baseball bat. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh.
Estamos en Queens Boulevard, el corazón de Forest Hills. Aquí funcionaba un conocidísimo cine que hoy, como verán, está cerrado. Y al lado, la galería de arte de la madre artista de Joey. Aquí venían, cuando la galería cerraba a las 8 de la noche, a ensayar Joey y Didi. A veces se quedaban hasta la mañana siguiente que la madre volvía a abrir la galería de arte donde hoy funciona una bicicletería. Aquí, en este lugar de Queens Boulevard, empezó la historia de los Ramones. So, in this art gallery, the story of the Ramones began.
It did, rehearsal-wise, you know, because Joey and his mom grew up just a few blocks from here, so a lot of times she said she would be able to walk to work to come to her art gallery. But, you know, the gallery had a basement, and, you know, if the band doesn't have a lot of cash, which they didn't, where would be a good place to rehearse? Your mom's art gallery's basement, right? So Joey and Dee Dee would actually rehearse quite a bit in the basement of the old art garden gallery here on Queens Boulevard.
Thanks to Mama Ramon.
Thanks to Mama Ramon, because she said she would come in a lot of times during the morning and find these guys passed out from an exhaustive rehearsal, a few cocktails, and she was so cool about it, they called her Mama Ramon.
Con la banda en plena formación, era tiempo de dejar el pago chico y conquistar la gran ciudad. Así desembarcaban los Ramones en Manhattan.
El 16 de agosto de 1974, los Ramones tocaron en público por primera vez en este lugar de la calle Bowery en Nueva York. Aquí funcionaba el CBGB, tal vez el club punk más importante del mundo. Se hicieron locales aquí los Ramones y tocaron centenas de veces, llenando la sala que solo podía albergar a 250 personas. Aquí lo descubrieron y les hicieron firmar su primer contrato discográfico. El lugar, el CBGB, cerró en el año 2006 y hoy funciona una elegante marca de ropa. Do you remember the period of the CBGB, for example?
Of course. I lived there.
Yeah. And what do you remember of that years?
Well, it was a hole in the wall. It was a very tiny little club. Great sound system. It was where we all used to hang out. And, you know, it was a camaraderie. We're all friends. We knew that we started something in the 70s.
You realized then?
We knew that the music we were playing is what we liked, but we knew that eventually, you know, the world might catch up to it, you know. Which it did. Bands weren't playing fast. They weren't counting each song. We did. You know, that's how it started. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of bands picked up on it and, you know, started strumming downstrokes and counting each song and jumping more, moving around, and, you know, it was a change. It was needed.
She's a sensation, she's a sensation. She looks so sweet. She's a sensation, she's a sensation. Putting up the TV.
We wanted to show the excitement of the music itself too.
And those songs are still alive, no?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's past, but it's also present, no?
Yeah, the
music.
Yes, Sedated, Rockville High School, Sheener and Rockaway Beach, being played more than ever.
Yeah,
which is great. You know, really shows the longevity of this music that we call punk rock.
Tan importante fue el CBGB para los Ramones que en esta pared, en esta puerta secreta de ingreso al club que está en la parte posterior del CBGB, se sacaron la foto que fue la portada de su tercer disco, Rocket to Russia. Aquí en el Extra Place, en este callejón, se juntaban a tomar cerveza, a fumar, a charlar antes y después de los shows.
Fueron innovadores, vanguardistas y marcaron una época. A lo largo de sus 21 discos y más de 210 canciones mantuvieron un estilo. Ese estilo forjó un amor incondicional con el público argentino que desde 1987, en su primer show y a lo largo de sus 27 presentaciones en nuestro país se hizo eterno.
The place was shaking, and the crowd was singing along to each song. KKK took my baby away, and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, getting in and out was pretty rough too, out of the place.
In Argentina, of course, they got the taste of what it was like to be a supergroup.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. La fiesta empezó.
El último show de los Ramones en River, un día como hoy, hace exactamente 20 años, fue el más grande de su carrera. Desfachatados, casi forajidos, los Ramones supieron convertirse en una banda de culto a nivel mundial. Pero a lo largo de su carrera, el éxito comercial y las grandes convocatorias les fueron esquivas. Eso en todo el mundo, salvo aquí, en Argentina.
What the fuck is this? Damn it! Oh man! Jesus Christ! It's always fucking something. It's great for us to be here in Argentina tonight.
El 3 de febrero de 1987, los Ramones tocaron aquí, en el mítico Estadio de Obras Sanitarias, por primera vez en la Argentina. The success in Argentina was very different from what happened here in USA in those days, I mean, no?
Yeah, they were very, very, they were wonderful. They showed a warmth towards us that we'll always remember. I mean, I'll always remember, you know. But we were very grateful that, you know, Argentina loved us.
Yeah.
Over here, look.
In Argentina, of course, they got the taste of what it was like to be a supergroup. They didn't really like it because they couldn't do anything. They couldn't go outside the hotel. And we got kicked out of a few hotels because the kids would... It was
Trying to
amazing.
get in.
Yeah, and going in and out of the airport. They got a real taste of what it was like to be
They were like the Beatles.
A supergroup.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. La fiesta empezó.
Corría el año 1996 y los rumores de la separación de los Ramones eran cada vez más fuertes. Joey tenía problemas de salud y la relación entre los cuatro integrantes era muy mala. Sin embargo, el 16 de marzo de 1996 escribirían tal vez su página más gloriosa. Aquí, en el estadio de River, en la ciudad de Buenos Aires, tocarían para 65.000 personas y sería el último show de los Ramones en la Argentina meses antes de separarse definitivamente. Do you remember something of that show 20 years ago?
Yeah, the place was shaking, and the crowd was singing along to each song. KKK took my baby away, and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, getting in and out was pretty rough too, out of the place in our van.
Hey ho, let's go. Hey ho, let's go. Hey ho, let's go. Hey ho, let's go. Mama, they say that. Don't be time.
You miss them sometimes when you're on stage or when you are living your life?
Well, I think I get constant reminders every day of them. If I put on a song or I hear it on the radio, you know, they were my friends and bandmates. I mean, we paved the way in the 70s. So we, you know, I did 1,700 shows with them and 10 studio albums. So yeah, of course you missed them. We were the closest friends. That long together is longer than even families are, because you constantly see more of each other. It's not like somebody goes to work, comes back home.
It's more than that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we were surrounded by each other.
And you made history. You realized that.
Yeah, that I see. I mean, but the music definitely comes first, you know.
The Ramones are just bigger than ever. Well, you know, it's funny because they retired in 1996. And after that, they started to get onto radio. They started to get into TV commercials. They started to get into soundtracks of movies. Now they're so big. I love it, but it's a shame that most of them, you know, the four didn't see it.
Irónicamente, el éxito que tanto buscaron llegó demasiado tarde. Los 4 Ramones fundadores murieron, pero su legado hoy es más grande de lo que alguna vez soñaron. A 20 años de su último show, sus canciones suenan como si fueran nuevas. Sus remeras se multiplican donde haya un recital y están vigentes como nunca. Los Ramones tienen, sin lugar a dudas, corazón argentino.